Welcome to the first Around the 32 weekly recap. Week zero's in the books. We had our first live broadcast. We had statements made, rankings shaken up, instant commits flying in, and tonight we've got Michigan and Notre Dame joining us after two huge wins. We had a wild week zero. From upsets to games that we weren't very certain about whenever they first started. We had two big user games and a third that didn't get as much attention, but probably should have. We will cover as much of that as we possibly can in tonight's show. First up, let's go over Notre Dame and Miami. Unfortunately, I missed this game. I don't know exactly what happened, and I'm very excited to be able to pick Bobby's brain to find out what he saw in this game. Listen, Austin is a great user. Miami is an outstanding team. But I said it whenever this league first kicked off this year. Notre Dame is going to be one of those teams to watch as playoff time comes around. In Michigan, last year he had Oklahoma and he did outstanding work in the SEC. We didn't know too much about Louisville's user. We found out a lot, and it wasn't all that great. California and Colorado, not much you can really say about that. As far as I know, again, it's another one that I didn't watch. I caught up on some of the chat, and it seemed like it was over by halftime. Colorado conceded. That's going to be a long season for Colorado if he continues to put up numbers like that. One of the big things that I would like to touch on as the broadcast goes on is UCLA dropping a computer game against San Diego State 24-9. We don't know much about this user. We know that he has had some very heated moments in chat, and I'm sure that there are some people who are very excited to see this result. But first, we're going to get to this game. Michigan versus Louisville. This game was a head scratcher. It was our very first live broadcast. We had a outstanding turnout. I think at some point we had 22 viewers in at one time. We had 55 unique viewers total. Brandon, who is our LSU user, did an outstanding job with broadcasting, commentating that game. Hats off to Michigan for the game that he played. It was something very different. Brandon and I kept wondering throughout the entire broadcast what was going on with his play style, and I'm curious to see if that was something that he intentionally done or if it was just trying out a new playbook. For those of you who didn't watch the game, he just pretty much sat in flexbone all day and ran the ball as much as he could. I think he threw 8 passes total throughout the entire game. It was something to watch. Louisville threw interception after interception after interception. He put himself in really bad situations. Played good defense at times, but ultimately, whenever you're playing against a user like this, you can't make any mistakes. And Louisville, unfortunately, made a lot of them. So that brings us to the interview with Michigan. And we will get him in here shortly. Future broadcasts, we are extremely excited for the future of how this is going to take place. Hopefully we can do something like this every week with live broadcasts and commentators. and get a couple guys alternating in and out, as much as we possibly can. That's definitely the goal. And we're gonna hold here for a quick break while we wait for Michigan to join for the interview. Okay, so we have Bobby in here right now, so we're gonna go ahead and do Notre Dame while we wait for Michigan to join up. Bobby, are you here? Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Hold on, it's kind of quiet. Let me see. All right, let me say something.
Yeah. How's it going, man?
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I put you on speaker. I'm good now.
All right, cool, man. I'm excited for this.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's dive right in, man. You came in ranked number 3, beat number 6 Miami, Austin, who's an outstanding user, he's a long time guy in this league. 41-17. Was that a statement win for you?
Yeah, I would say it's a statement. Really wanted to come in this year and start off fast. Had a couple seasons in the past where kind of started off slow, then got our groove going, and it kind of caused some seeding issues in the playoffs later in the year. So really wanted to come in, make a statement, and get off to a fast start.
That's definitely a lot different than those old NC State days, huh? Where you start off a little bit behind the sticks, man.
Yes, sir.
So beating, in my opinion, a top 10 user here in that fashion is absolutely remarkable. What does a win like that do for the level of confidence that you have going into the season?
I just, it really solidifies what our goal is, and that's to win the national championship. I feel like I got the team to do it. I know there's there's gonna be quite a few other guys that can do the same, but I think it really, you know, puts in perspective, what our team's all about and what we can accomplish this year one.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I missed this game. It was one that I really wanted to watch. What was the story of the game? How did it flow? Were you just in the zone, or was Austin kind of struggling? What helped you to separate so much to get that 41-17 win?
I think the biggest part of the game was I stayed balanced. We were both teams ran the ball really well. I capitalized on quite a few third and longs that he was struggling with, and once I got out ahead, it kind of just put him behind the sticks, and he kind of had to abandon the run and got a little too pass happy, in my opinion. And any solid user, once you get pass happy, it's really not that hard to play defense at that point. Our D line was really getting after it, putting a lot of pressure on his quarterback, come up with a couple turnovers, and just getting ahead, running the ball, and then once the second half got into the second half, we just really hammered down on the run and had a couple field goals we converted on. So it just really put him in a bad spot, and I think he had to forced him to do some stuff he didn't really want to do.
Absolutely. And I love Austin. He's a great guy, great player. But he's one of those guys that if you take away his quarterback, he's struggling for sure. Um, and I don't know if you can be considered necessarily a dark horse in this league, especially not after a win like that. And making a national championship appearance in 26 with NC State. Guys know you here. But I had you on national championship watch for the selection show. Do you think that after that win, you're kind of the team to beat?
I don't want to say I'm the team to beat, but I think I'm in a group of about 5 or 6 guys that could win it year one. I want to give respect to the commissioners. Texas and Sticks down there with Florida State, I believe. I would say they're the top notch, the favorites. That's still a mountain that we're still trying to climb and conquer. But I would say I'm in a group of about 5 or 6 that could really make a run and win a championship.
After watching that, I don't know if you watched the Michigan game last night. We're gonna get to him in just a second. But would you consider him as one of those guys also?
Possibly. I didn't get to watch it. I'd have to. I seen a little bit of people talking about it. He's definitely a solid user. I would say my top guys would be top teams would be Texas, Florida State. Um, is the old Clemson user the is he with Cal now? Is he
He
who just
is.
beat Mark? Yeah,
Yep.
he's a solid user. Um, and then Texas Tech. What's that? Is it
Yeah,
Reese?
Reese. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. He's up there. And I know we had another. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 guys, but those are the initial guys that really come to mind. Reese, Texas, Florida State. And then those guys have been really tough for me, and I think I'm in the group. I think I'm in a group with them though, and there's a couple other guys. I'm sure there's some guys I'm forgetting, but there's about 5, 6 guys that are really. I think year one have the team and the ability to win the championship.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Last question, just kind of wrapping it up. Is there any message that you want to leave for the teams, either above you, or around you, in your conference? Any type of warning shots, anything of that nature?
Hey, I would just say, hey, when you see the Fighting Irish on the schedule, just know we're going to war, and we play to the very end. It doesn't matter if you're up 40, we're still fighting, so it's going to be a battle to the very end.
Love it, man. Love it. Thank you for your time, man. We're gonna jump in with Michigan here in just a second.
Alrighty.
All right, so we have Michigan now. How's it going, man? That was a impressive win in the first live broadcast of around the 32. How's that feel? Michigan, are you there?
Hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, man, I got you.
I didn't catch the question there.
I was just saying, impressive victory last night. First ever broadcast in around the 32 history. You win, 35-14. Uh, we pulled 55 total views, 22 at one point. Um, did you feel any added pressure being the first broadcast game, knowing that potentially the whole league was watching?
It was a broadcast game. Yeah, first off, thanks to everyone involved and setting this up, taking the time to just keep everybody engaged, keep this league super competitive. I can't say that there's any added pressure. Um, I was definitely excited to get into dynasty mode and just get things going, get things kicked off.
Was that your first user game on the new game, or have you been kind of hitting online a little bit?
Oh no, I've been playing online a pretty good bit, but the offense that I ran, that was something that I have been testing recently, and just wanted to run it in a dynasty game.
So that was absolutely intentional. Then you wanted to go in
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, that's nice, man. And during the broadcast, Brandon, who's our LSU user, he kept saying, in years past at Oklahoma, you threw the ball a lot. You and him had a lot of really competitive games. And he was kind of blown away that you only threw the ball 8 times. It was a spectacle for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was hard not to throw the ball. Yeah, anyone that's ever played me knows I like to air it out. But I also like to, on offense, keep things pretty unique in the formations that I use, what I show, some of the route combinations. and setups that I have, and I think that the flex bone presents a lot of problems. And I think Michigan was kind of a good test to use that. I can't say that I'm going to be using that the whole year. We'll kind of see how that plays out, but yeah, stay tuned for that.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And it was fun to watch for sure. You struggled with it a little bit at times, with bad pitches. But I think as you get the kinks worked out, it'll all come together. Defensively, Louisville kind of gassed you on the ground several times. What was your mindset there? What were you trying to do to adjust to those big runs he was hitting?
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of those runs came off of. I'm still trying to get adjusted to the new adjustment system in CFB 27. And a lot of those big runs came off of me doing adjustments, right when he snapped the ball. So a lot of the times he would snap it, and sometimes you would see whoever I was using, I would just immediately dive or something like that, and then boom, there he goes, 56 yards, 70 yards down the field. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely some things I need to clean up. I'll probably take some time to, mess with the macros or whatever it's called, but definitely got to do some things on defense because yeah, the Big Ten is going to be run heavy for sure.
yeah. I did notice a lot of those dives right at the snap, and I was kind of curious about what was going on with that. It makes perfect sense. And knowing you, from last year at Oklahoma, we were expecting you to potentially come in here and just absolutely dominate, which is you somewhat did, but it was a close game on the board up until the fourth quarter where you started to pull away a little bit. How do you think that affects you on power rankings or top 25 or anything like that? Does that stuff even matter to you, or are you just here to win games and play football?
Yeah, it's still early in the season. We're going to take this one game at a time. Um, I would say that the only ranking that really matters is the ranking at the end of the season, whether I'm in the tournament or not in the tournament. I think that's what ultimately matters. Uh, but again, like we're just gonna take this week by week, and just try to get better every week. Yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm a football guy, so that's ultimately what I want to do. I mean, as you see, I came out here and ran flex bone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Last question for you, man. Do you have a message for the rest of the Big Ten, or was that game last night your statement?
Oh, absolutely not a statement. I feel like there's definitely some things that could have been a lot better. We had some big drops. But as far as the message to I mean, we've got some good teams in the conference. I don't think you can sleep on anyone. I definitely look forward to competing against everybody. But again, our goal is to get into the dance and ultimately win a national championship. That's what we're focused on.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure calling you game, and it was a pleasure having you on tonight for the interview. I appreciate both of you guys joining me, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Absolutely appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, so next up, we are going to dive into some of the early commits that we've got from a few teams around the league. There may be more, but these are just guys that have been reported. So far, we have a wide receiver, Earl Brents, going to Indiana, 6'5", 197 pounds, four-star guy. Um, you know, you have to wonder about some of the NIL that these guys have spent to get these early recruits. You know, the thing with these teams though is they're all teams who you can believe that they pulled somebody week zero. You know, Indiana coming off of a national championship, Georgia being Georgia, Oregon being Oregon, and Florida. I'm Florida, so I can't really make that boast a little bit too much. But they're people who you can absolutely believe there. And Jeremiah Drango being a DT, four-star going to Georgia, that can potentially be massive addition for him as his seasons go on. I know that Eddie likes to sit some of his DTs for a couple years and develop. Uh, and especially with Georgia, they've always got extremely great guys on defense. So I'm interested to see how soon he cracks the starting lineup. Graham McCadley, Mike linebacker, going to Oregon, 6', 218, 4-star out of Concord, California. This is another one that it's a very interesting addition. Um, Oregon being in the Big Ten, there's a lot of competition. You're gonna need defense there. You're gonna need somebody who can use her over the middle. I don't know his attributes. I don't know if he has great speed, if he has great coverage, or if he can tackle. I don't know what his archetype is, but this could be a massive addition early on for Oregon. And then Florida, Rudy Emery. It was a guy that I was extremely excited to get right off the jump. As soon as I offered him, he committed, and this Florida team, I don't think competes right away. I think it's going to take me a couple seasons to be able to get in the mix of things. And hopefully I can build and be able to compete in the SEC and potentially in the playoffs as seasons progress. But this is the first piece, and I'm extremely excited to have him on my team. And then next, we're jumping into everybody's favorite topic to hate, is power rankings. There's a lot of movement in power rankings this week, with very little games to play for it, that have been played. Top 5 changed just a touch. Florida State, Texas, those guys are going to be 1 and 2 for a long time. It's always going to be those guys at the top unless something crazy happens. Florida State, multiple national champions last year. Texas, extremely great user. He's also won multiple. And you have Bobby coming in at 3 now. He was 4 last week. That impressive win over Miami just kind of pushed him over Ohio State, who was on a bye this week. So, him dropping that one game doesn't really say much for him, as much as it does of Notre Dame climbing. And then Brandon staying at 5 with LSU, who was also on a bye. Another big movement you have is Michigan coming up to number 6 after his impressive win, and Miami dropping all the way back down to 9 after that massive loss to Notre Dame. I'm not completely counting Miami out yet. He's a great user. He's got to knock that rust off, and I firmly believe that he absolutely can. And another big mover we have is California. And this is a guy that I thought might take a season or two to be able to climb into the top 15. And I have him there right now after that absolutely incredible win that he had this week. Making one of the newer guys in the league tap out, at halftime. Wait, was that the game? I think that was the game, right? I could be getting 2 games mixed up here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Cal. He made Colorado tap out at halftime. And that, I think that just speaks wonders to who he is as a user. Cal's not a bad team. They have a decent roster. And I have high hopes for him as the season progresses. I think that we see him in the playoffs in year 1. Some of the other big movers that we have, is just strictly based on activity, inactivity. It's not really much to call home about. I wouldn't take any of this stuff too seriously yet because there's only been a handful of players that have actually played a game. Um, but you do have Colorado falling all the way down to 29 after the loss that he suffered to Cal. And then UCLA. I said we would speak about this, and we will. I'm going to keep it brief. I don't want this to go too long, but this is a user who was extremely vocal at certain points in chat. Um, and he won a game against our Indiana user, and I mean, we all know the story there and how that went and how heated things got for a little while. Um, so this is a guy beating Indiana. I thought, he would potentially run the board in computer games. So seeing him drop a game against a team like San Diego State, it's very very shocking, and it's hard to drop him all the way down to 32 after that. But 24-9 loss to the computer, which, listen, the computer this year is absolutely ridiculous. They're on a completely different level than they have been in years past. But that's just, it's a little bit unforgivable, and I'm sure that's gonna be discussed at some point in the Discord chat, and I'm here for it. I can't wait. Next, we're gonna jump into week one. Week one's right around the corner. We have a couple user games that are very interesting. We have Tennessee at UCF, Georgia at Ohio State, which I think would be absolutely magnificent to have another broadcast game. A couple guys in that booth calling that game. I think there's no other game to make there, right? UCLA at Cal. Let's be real. I mean, after what we saw last week, I don't see this being much of a game. No disrespect to UCLA, but I know Sosa. I've seen him play. I've watched him a little bit last year with Clemson. And I've been big on Cal since I found out that he got him. I think that this is a team that can make a lot of noise in this league. I don't see this being any closer than 3 or 4 touchdowns. That's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt, but yeah. Louisville versus Ole Miss. Unfortunately, I don't think this game will be played. Ole Miss is on vacation. He might try to play it on the portal using remote play, but I've tried to play on the portal with online games, and it's almost worth it to just take your loss and move on. Unfortunately, that's going to drop him down if he has to take that loss. Against a team that looked very disturbed in week 0. I think that this is a game that he could have potentially ran away with if it got played on normal circumstances, and unfortunately he might just drop this one. And then you have SMU and Florida State. SMU has to go to Florida State. Florida State is currently unranked, but that means absolutely nothing whenever you have sticks on the sticks, right? This guy is, for anybody who has ever watched him play, there's nothing that needs to be said about this. I don't know too much about the SMU user. There's a lot of new guys in this league that we're going to have to find out what they're made of, right? Like Tennessee at UCF, that's a game that I'm not really willing to call. I believe, if I remember right, that UCF has been in here for a minute now. And if he is who I'm thinking that he is a good user. He's a solid user. But I don't remember exactly, so I don't want to make that call. But I think the only game that you really make game of the week and potential broadcast is that Georgia at Ohio State game. And listen, this is going to be a fun, exciting, um, explosive game. Ohio State is a national championship winner here, um, and Eddie has. Uh, and I'm gonna regret saying this as soon as it comes out. It's gonna taste like vinegar. I just know it. But he's actually improved a lot over the last year or so since the first time that I played him. Um, I've never beaten him, and I've always chalked that up to him having better teams than me. Um, and we played using the same team, and he destroyed me. So hats off to him. Props, where props are due. And I think that this has potential to be a really good, really fun game to call. Um, it could get out of hand if Eddie decides to dive into the end zone on a touchdown. Then we could definitely see some fireworks from Ohio State. Uh, I think that about wraps up our very first around the 32 weekly recap, guys. This has been a fun week, and hopefully we can continue on this pace, and we can continue doing some of the things that we're doing here to make this more immersive for everybody. You know, we have a TikTok channel now, we have a YouTube channel now, and all of this stuff that we're doing is going into those channels. And we ask that you go like, follow, share, um, post them in your other leagues, get guys coming in and watching, getting them involved. We want this thing to grow beyond what it is. This is for you, but it's also for everybody else as well. Um, so I appreciate everybody that tunes in and everybody that watches this, and I know that I can speak on behalf of Sticks and and Bone. That they appreciate it as well. And thanks to the guys that gave the interviews tonight. You guys deserve that win, and good luck. The rest of the season. Week zero's in the books. The board's moved. First broadcast is in the books. First statements have been made. Next week, somebody else gets tested. This has been Around the 32. College football, our way.